Welcome, and thank you for being here tonight. Please settle back against your pillows. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears, and allow yourself to gently drift into this quiet space. If your mind is still racing from the day, that is entirely all right. Simply acknowledge those thoughts and let them float away like autumn leaves on a slow-moving stream. Tonight, we are going to quiet the noise of the outside world together through a soothing breathing exercise, followed by a gentle, sleepy retelling of the classic tale of Beauty and the Beast, written by Alicia, designed specifically to help you drift off into a deep and restorative sleep. Let us begin by taking a slow, deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely. Hold it for a moment, and now a long, slow sigh out through your mouth, letting all tension drain from your body. Breathe in peace and breathe out the exhaustion of the day. Notice the comforting sound of the soft rain falling outside your window, washing away every worry, every task, and every demand. With each breath you take, your body becomes heavier, warmer, and more profoundly relaxed. Your eyelids are growing wonderfully heavy. Your breathing is steady, calm, and rhythmic. There is nothing else you need to do right now, nowhere else you need to be, and no one else you need to please. Just listen to the sound of my voice, feel the soft rain, and let yourself sink deeper into the mattress. As we transition into the story, allow every muscle in your face to soften, your jaw to unclench, and your hands to rest limply by your side. Once upon a time, in a quiet valley far away from the bustling commotion of cities and towns, there lived a humble merchant and his 3 daughters. The youngest daughter, whom everyone called Beauty, possessed a heart as gentle as the morning mist, and a spirit as serene as a sleeping forest. While her older sisters sought excitement, riches, and the admiration of the world, Beauty found her greatest joy in quiet mornings, the smell of old paper, and the soft patter of rain against her window pane. But life, like the weather, is prone to sudden shifts, and one stormy evening word reached the merchant that his merchant ships had been lost at sea, stripping the family of their wealth and forcing them to move to a small, secluded cottage at the edge of the deep woods. Here, the days passed in peaceful monotony. There was no rush, no pressure, and no grand expectations. The rhythm of their lives slowed down to match the whispering wind through the pines, and the steady rhythmic drumming of rain upon the thatched roof. One chilly autumn morning, news arrived that one of the merchant's ships, long thought to be destroyed, had managed to dock at a distant port. Hope flickered back into the merchant's heart, and he prepared for a long journey to reclaim whatever fortunes remained. Before departing, he asked his daughters what gifts he might bring back for them upon his return. The older sisters asked for fine silks, jewels, and trinkets of silver and gold. But Beauty, ever modest, asked only for a single red rose, for none grew in their frost-bitten garden during the deep chill of late autumn. The merchant embraced his daughter, promised to find the finest rose in the world, and set off into the grey, mist-shrouded morning. The journey was long and arduous, the road slick with mud and hemmed in by ancient, towering trees, whose branches seemed to stretch out like sleepy arms against the slate-coloured sky. After days of travel, the merchant finally reached the Tort, only to discover that legal disputes and debts had swallowed his remaining goods, leaving him as empty-handed as before. Defeated, exhausted, and weighed down by disappointment, he began his long and lonely journey back home. Night fell swiftly over the mountains, bringing with it a fierce, blinding blizzard of wind and snow. The merchant lost his way in the labyrinthine forest, his horse growing weary and shivering against the freezing gale. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm him, a faint golden glow pierced through the dense curtain of falling snow.
Following the warm light, the merchant stumbled upon a magnificent, sprawling stone castle, illuminated from within by 100 invisible hearths. The courtyard was entirely dry, untouched by the biting wind, and a crackling fire warmed the grand stable where he sheltered his exhausted horse. Mystified, the merchant mounted the marble steps and pushed open the heavy oak doors, which swung inward without a sound. Inside, a grand hall awaited him, bathed in the gentle amber glow of oil lamps. A long mahogany table was laden with steaming food and crystal goblets of wine, yet not a single soul was to be seen. Weary beyond measure, the merchant ate a quiet meal by the roaring hearth, and finding a sumptuously made bed in a quiet chamber upstairs, drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep. The next morning, the storm had cleared, leaving the world wrapped in a blanket of pristine, silent white. As the merchant walked through the castle gardens to retrieve his horse, he noticed a magnificent arbor of blooming red roses, defying the winter frost with their vibrant, velvety petals. Remembering his promise to his youngest daughter, the merchant stepped forward and plucked a single, perfect red rose from its stem. Instantly, the sky darkened, the wind howled through the courtyard, and a terrifying, monstrous figure materialized before him like a waking nightmare. It was the master of the castle, a creature half man, half beast, towering over the merchant with piercing, golden eyes that burned with fury. "Ungrateful wretch," the beast roared, his voice echoing like rolling thunder against the stone walls. "I give you shelter, food, and warmth, and in return you steal my most precious flowers. For this act of theft you shall forfeit your life." Trembling with terror, the merchant fell to his knees, explaining through sobs that the flower was meant only as a humble gift for his youngest daughter, Beauty. The beast glared down at him, his anger slowly subsiding into a heavy, melancholic stillness. "Very well," the beast growled softly. "I shall spare your life, but on one condition. Either you return here to face your doom, or one of your daughters must come willingly in your place within 3 months, knowing the fate that awaits her." The merchant, heartbroken, yet desperate to survive, agreed to the terms, received a chest of gold coins to sustain his family, and rode away from the cursed castle with a heavy, sorrowful heart. When he returned to the cottage and recounted the harrowing tale to his family, Beauty did not hesitate for a single second. With quiet grace and unwavering resolve, she insisted on taking her father's place, knowing that her love for him outweighed any fear of the unknown. As the days of autumn gave way to the quiet, hushed stillness of winter, Beauty travelled back to the enchanted castle, wrapped in warm woolen cloaks as the gentle snow fell all around. Upon her arrival, the heavy doors opened to welcome her, and instead of a dungeon or prison cell, she was led to a magnificent chamber draped in silk and velvet, with a fireplace that crackled with a comforting, steady warmth. Every evening, the Beast would join her for dinner in the grand dining hall. Though his appearance was fierce and formidable, his voice when he spoke was surprisingly deep, gentle, and measured. He did not threaten her, nor did he demand obedience. Instead, he engaged her in quiet, thoughtful conversations about philosophy, art, and the beauty of the natural world. As the weeks passed, Beauty's initial fear melted away, replaced by a quiet curiosity and an unexpected sense of comfort. She spent her days exploring the vast library, reading ancient leather-bound volumes by the window, while the wind tapped a soothing melody against the glass, and walking through the sprawling, enchanted gardens, where the air always smelled of damp earth and blooming jasmine. The Beast watched over her from a distance, ensuring she lacked for nothing, his rough exterior slowly softening under the influence of her gentle, calming presence.
Night after night, as they sat by the roaring fire, the boundaries between captor and companion dissolved into a deep, abiding companionship. Yet, despite the comfort of her new life, a gentle pang of longing for her ailing father began to weigh upon Beauty's heart. One evening, gazing into the magical looking-glass the Beast had given her, she saw her father lying ill and frail in his bed, calling out her name in feverish exhaustion. Tears welled in Beauty's eyes as she turned to the Beast and softly asked for permission to return home for just 1 week to tend to her father's health. The Beast stood silently for a long moment, the flickering firelight casting long, dancing shadows across his scarred face. A deep, sorrowful sigh escaped his chest, rattling the glassware on the table. "You may go, Beauty," he whispered, his voice heavy with resignation. "Return to your home and your father. But I beg of you, do not stay away for more than 7 days, or you will return to find your poor Beast dead of a broken heart." Beauty promised faithfully to return before the week was out, and with a final reassuring smile, she laid her head down to sleep, waking the next morning to find herself safe and warm in her father's cottage. The reunion with her father was filled with tears of joy and profound relief. As Beauty tended to him day and night, nursing him back to health with warm broths and soothing words, the days slipped by unnoticed. The cosy familiarity of the cottage, the gentle snoring of her father in the next room, and the steady, rhythmic patter of the steady rain outside lulled her into a false sense of time.
Before she realized it, the 7th day had slipped away, and as midnight struck, a sudden wave of dread washed over her. She rushed to the window, the glass reflecting her tear-stained face, and remembered her promise. Seizing the magical looking-glass, she looked into its polished surface, only to find the beast lying motionless in the dark garden of the castle, half buried under the cold morning frost. With a gasp of anguish, Beauty dropped everything, packed a small satchel, and rode through the night, urging her horse forward through the muddy, wind-slicked forest until she reached the gates of the castle once more. She ran through the silent, empty courtyards, calling out his name, but there was no answer. Finally, she found him lying beside the rose arbor where they had first spoken, his massive chest barely rising and falling, his golden eyes dim and lifeless. Dropping to her knees in the wet grass, Beauty cradled his heavy, furry head in her lap, tears streaming down her cheeks as she whispered over and over again how much she loved him, and how she could not imagine a world without his gentle spirit. As her warm tears touched his face, the dark clouds above parted, and a brilliant shaft of golden moonlight broke through the storm, illuminating the garden in a soft, ethereal glow. A strange humming warmth filled the air, and the beast's rigid form began to shift and transform, the rough fur dissolving into golden light, the terrifying claws smoothing into human hands. When the blinding light finally subsided, a handsome prince with kind, familiar eyes looked up at her, smiling gently as he took her hand in his. The curse of selfishness and bitterness that had bound him to the beast for so many years had been broken by the pure, selfless love of a tender heart. Together, they rose from the garden path, hand in hand, stepping into a future filled with unending peace, quiet happiness, and the comforting assurance that no matter how fierce the storm outside, warmth and love would always prevail within the castle walls. And as the story draws to its quiet close, allow your breathing to slow down even further. Notice the profound heaviness in your limbs. The rain continues to fall outside, a steady, rhythmic lullaby washing over the roof, blowing the edges of the world, until there is nothing left but absolute peace. Let go of every thought, every image, and every sound, drifting further and further down into the warm, restorative embrace of sleep.
May your dreams be gentle, your rest be deep, and your awakening be filled with quiet light. Sleep well. Sleep deeply. Good night.